Okay, so when you think of Antarctica, what comes to mind? Just ice, right? Endless ice. But what if I told you that millions of years ago it was a lush jungle and it was ruled by some absolutely terrifying predators? We're about to dive in and uncover the secrets of a continent you only thought you knew.
First up, we're going to travel back in time, way back to an Antarctica that was just teeming with life. A place where the biggest threat wasn't the freezing cold, but whatever was hunting in the shadows of its forests.
So let me ask you this. 50 million years ago in this jungle, what do you think was the apex predator? Here's a little hint for you. It wasn't a mammal, and it was probably taller than you are.
That's right. This thing stood 6 feet tall. It could have easily looked a full-grown person right in the eye. But you know, its height? That was just the beginning.
It also weighed as much as a lion. We're talking around 220 pounds of pure muscle and hunter's instinct. Just picture like an ostrich from a horror movie, one that's built for pure speed and power. Got any guesses yet? Well, say hello to the terror bird. Yep, that's its name. It was a giant, flightless, meat-eating bird that completely ruled this continent. For millions of years, literally nothing could challenge it. It was the undisputed king of prehistoric Antarctica. So how in the world do we know they were even there? Well, paleontologists on Seymour Island found these two massive, sharp, curved claw bones. And there was just no doubt about it. They belonged to the Forest Racidae, the terror bird, proving that these incredible predators had made Antarctica their home. So how'd they get there? Well, way back then, South America and Antarctica were actually still connected. They shared a land bridge. This meant the terror birds could literally just walk south and find this whole new thriving ecosystem. But, as the continents drifted apart and Antarctica began to freeze over, its prey disappeared, and this magnificent predator just vanished, leaving only those two giant claws behind. But the terror birds, they weren't the only giants on the block. The ocean was just as intimidating. That's where you'd find the ancient giant penguins. So while the terror birds dominated the land, these human-sized seabirds, armed with these long, sharp beaks, they were the formidable hunters of the water. And don't think for a second that Antarctica is tame today. Far from it. Its modern predators are just as impressive. We're talking emperor penguins that can dive to unbelievable depths, colossal squids stretching over 40 feet long, and of course, orcas, the incredibly intelligent wolf packs of the sea. So, look, the continent's real history and its wildlife are already stranger than fiction, but that hasn't stopped us from inventing some even wilder myths about it. So, I think it's time for a little rapid-fire myth-busting round.
All right, first up, the big one. This idea that there's a massive, impassable ice wall stopping anyone from reaching the interior. Is that for real?
No, that is completely false. The so-called wall is actually an ice shelf. And not only is it passable, but there is a full-blown research station right at the geographic South Pole where over 1,000 people live and work every summer. Okay, next myth. I bet you've seen this one. A few years ago, a Google Maps image went viral that seemed to show a perfectly carved doorway in the side of a glacier. So, alien base? Secret military entrance? What's the deal? The reality, as it usually is a lot simpler. It's just a grounded iceberg. And that weird shape, it was just carved out by a combination of melting, refreezing, and some really strong winds. So unfortunately, no secret spaceship hangar. Let's tackle one more, this time about a natural process. When a huge iceberg breaks off a glacier, you'd think it just floats off in a straight line until it melts, right? Not even close. An iceberg's journey is incredibly chaotic. It can get stuck on the seafloor for decades, get trapped in a whirlpool and spin for months. And its path is constantly being changed by currents, winds, and tides. It's a journey of 1,000 unpredictable turns. So, navigating the reality of Antarctica is obviously a huge challenge. For those who actually want to go, just getting there is this complex puzzle, which brings us to a tale of two rival cities, both vying to be the true gateway to the south. On one hand, you have Ushuaia in Argentina. It's closer and it's a major hub for tourist cruises. But here's the catch. It has no regular flights to Antarctica. Then you have Punta Arenas in Chile. It's farther away, but it's the real logistical hub, hosting bases for 22 different countries and running regular flights. It is the actual air connection to the continent. So why did that happen? Well, it all goes back to a major strategic mistake made decades ago.
Argentina built its main airbase, Marambio, on this high, rugged terrain, making it totally impossible to reach by land. Everything has to be flown in by helicopter, which is super slow and incredibly expensive. Chile, on the other hand, built efficient, accessible bases, and now the rest of the world relies on them.
So, we've seen how human choices have reshaped our access to the continent, but now, much larger forces are reshaping the continent itself, and this brings us full circle. As Antarctica's present starts changing, it's beginning to look eerily like its deep past. So, is history about to repeat itself?
Get this. In 2020, on the very same island where those terror bird fossils were found, scientists recorded a temperature of 69 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 20.7 Celsius. I mean, that was warmer than a lot of places in Europe at the time.
And just to give you an idea of how extreme that is, the average winter temperature there can drop to negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet we hit a record high of positive 69. That is a swing of over 140 degrees. So what is going on?
Well, scientists are pointing to a few key factors. Changes in how heat moves around the planet through our oceans are playing a major role. On top of that, the melting of permafrost is speeding up the warming. It really seems like the climate is changing much faster than our models ever predicted.
Which leaves us with one final and kinda haunting question. We started this journey in a green, thriving Antarctica that was ruled by giants. Now, as the continent warms up at this alarming rate, are we actually witnessing its slow return to that prehistoric world? And if we are, what comes next?